what do you want, buddy? What do you want? What's wrong? Is there something in the bathroom?
Most cats can tend to freak out for no apparent reason, whether they see a bird or hear a noise that startles them. But have you ever noticed a cat looking at something you couldn't see, with a sense of concentration that suggested there was somebody or something actually there? Do you believe cats are in touch with the spirit world in ways that most humans are not? This is a picture of my old cat Mo. One morning, years ago, my mum, sister and myself were eating breakfast in the kitchen before school, when Mo began to act very strange. She was staring at something in the living room near the fireplace, and began to meow at it in an ominous tone. She started to move very slowly and lowered her body to the ground, creeping towards whatever it was that she was staring at. However, she would not move into the living room itself. She clearly did not like the thing she could see. Did Mo see a ghost that day? One picture, taken in 1994, suggests a link between cats and the spirit world. Tinkerbell and Bunty were two cats living in Cumbria, England, when their owner snapped a picture of them in the living room. It looks as though someone has thrown a tissue into the shot, perhaps to get the cat's attention. The picture seems to depict a strange energy force that appears to bother one of the cats in the photo, while the other cat watches on. The red line effect is not uncommon in photographs, and while it may be intriguing, it could be explained away as being an issue with a light source interfering with the lens. However, it is difficult to explain two other aspects of the picture. Firstly, the distortion of Tinkerbell the Grey Tabby's head, and the way it seems to have been drawn or sucked into the red light from the neck up, while the rest of its body appears otherwise to be seated comfortably. Secondly, is Bunty the tortoiseshell watching as the light torments Tinkerbell, or merely looking towards the tissue? The Society for Psychical Research has concluded that the picture remains unexplained. Some cats are believed not only to see spirits, but also to possess extrasensory perception. One case occurred in Melbourne, Australia. In 1928, a woman named Mrs. King was given a kitten. Although he was a sweet little cat, nobody in the King household took much notice of him except Mrs. King's father, Thomas Lynon, an Irishman nearing 90 years of age. "Dad just loved that kitten from the first," Mrs. King said, "and the kitten was mad on him. You never saw them apart. It was Dad who named him Felix." The old man fed Felix, and the cat walked with him to the corner shop whenever he bought a newspaper or tobacco. The old man even taught the cat to box, with Felix learning to balance on his hind legs and play fighting with his front paws. Then, on 28th of June 1930, Mr. Lynon died. He had just turned 90. Felix watched the funeral procession move off, unable to understand that they were taking his friend away forever. When the old man never came home, Felix was inconsolable. He ate, but only enough to keep him alive. He searched the house for his friend, and watched the front door in case he came home. After 5 months, Felix was still in a state of almost human-like depression. The Kings were worried. One sunny afternoon, they went driving, and took Felix with them for a change of scene. While driving along the busy St Kilda road, the car stopped to give way to pedestrians, and Felix suddenly got to his feet, his fur standing on end. He stood for a moment before jumping out of the open window and onto the road, disappearing quickly into the traffic. The King family could only go home and hope that Felix would return. After a week, they gave up hope of seeing him again. About 10 days later, Mr. and Mrs. King, along with their daughter Valerie, went to the Melbourne General Cemetery, about 10 miles away, on the other side of the city, to lay flowers at Mr. Lynon's grave. "I couldn't believe my eyes," Mrs. King said. "There was Felix walking up and down on the gravestone. He nearly went mad when he saw us. He jumped at Valerie and started to box her the way he used to play boxing with Dad. How he got there, I do not know. He had never been within miles of the cemetery in his life. The Kings knew beyond doubt that the cat was Felix. He carried 2 unmistakable identity badges, a scar near one eye where an airgun pellet had wounded him as a kitten, and a kink in his tail where it had been broken. The Kings tried to carry Felix back to the car twice, but each time, the cat scrambled away and returned to the grave. They had no choice but to leave the cat behind, and they paid the cemetery attendants to feed and care for him. Felix was spotted on many occasions in the years to come, guarding the grave of his friend, Mr. Linen.